Good evening to all of you. And as we say in Islam, Assalamu alaikum, which means peace and blessing be upon you. You know, I would like to really thank all of you for taking time out and accepting our invitation. And it's really a very satisfying thing to see that you have accepted our invitation and you are our guest today. Because one of the mission of the Islamic Center of Orlando is that we like to know our neighbors well, and we would like to build bridges of understanding. And the Islamic Center of Orlando has been trying to do the outreach work since 30 years. And we'll continue to do this. And Ramadan is a very, very special time for us. Not only that we are fasting this month, but this is a time to reflect. Take out time and reflect upon our condition as individuals and the condition of the society at large, and where we need to work harder. Because we believe that when we are well connected in our community, when people know us and we know people, only then we can create a peaceful society. So, we love visiting churches, we love visiting synagogues, we love doing interfaith work. We do all that because we would like to please our God, because God is full of love and God wants to see human hearts full of love towards each other. So this Interfaith Iftar is our third Interfaith Iftar of this year. In fact, this month, Ramadan. And we have 3 more to go. You see? So we do organize these Interfaith Iftars for the same reasons as I had mentioned to you earlier. To build bridges and to spread understanding of each other's faiths and each other's culture. So I will not do the most talking tonight. I have 2 young individuals here whom we are kind of grooming to be our leaders for tomorrow, and we like them to run the show tonight. So I'd like to introduce Abdullah Saqib and Muhammad Ali. Can you please come and take over?
Thank you, Ramadan, for that warm welcome. Good evening, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. That's what we say in Islam, which means peace and blessings be upon you. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. It's great to see a great turnout. My name is Muhammad Ali.
And my name is Abdullah Saqib.
On behalf of the Islamic Center of Orlando, we would like to welcome you to one of our annual Interfaith Iftars. The Islamic Center of Orlando was established over 30 years ago, and it was created to be a safe place for worship and to unite the Orlando community. In addition, we strive to build bridges between people of all belief, ethnicities, and backgrounds. And tonight we want to discuss more in detail about Islam, Ramadan, and we also, in bigger picture, want to break down barriers.
So that's what the masjid looks like from the outside. And a lot of people don't know what it looks like from the inside as well. So this is basically what a masjid looks like from the inside. One thing that's missing, that's present in many other houses of worship, is pews. So a lot of our worship is actually done on the ground. As you can see in this picture right here, people are gathered for a sermon that our Imam Tariq is conducting.
In Islam, we like to begin our gatherings in the name of God. I will ask Ali to come up and to recite verse 254 of Surah Baqarah of the Holy Quran. Ali, would you please come up?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من
Thank you, Ali, for that beautiful recitation. And over here you can see the translation of what he just read.
So a lot of people are often confused about what it is exactly that Muslims believe in. So we want to clarify that today. What is it that Muslims believe in? First and foremost, for a Muslim, it is upon us to believe in God. One God without partners. One God without a son. One God without a father. We also believe, as Muslims, in the prophets. All of them. Examples include Adam, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. May peace and blessings be upon all of them. We also believe in the divine books. Examples of which again include the Torah, the Psalms, the Bible, and the Quran. This belief goes to the extent that a person cannot be a Muslim until he has concrete belief in all of these. We also as Muslims have belief in the angels, the helpers of God. And we also as Muslims believe in destiny, that good and bad, everything is destined by God. And we also believe in life after death. The physical manifestations of these beliefs are presented in what is known as the acts of worship that are upon us as Muslims. There are four that are the main, the four of the five pillars of Islam. The first is prayer. Upon us as Muslims is to pray 5 times a day. And our prayer is actually very similar to other religions. If you take a look at what's happening inside of our mosques, it consists of units of standing, bowing, and prostrating to God. This is not something that is just for the Muslims. It's common in all the religions. If you take a look at Jerusalem, which is a focal point for all the religions, in Jerusalem, this prayer is being done by not only the Muslims, but the Christians as well, and the Jewish people as well. The second is charity. There's 2 types. The first is zakat, which is mandatory charity that every Muslim has to give, 2.5% of their wealth. The second is sadaqah, which is regular charity that can be given throughout the year. The third is fasting. We as Muslims, as we are right now in the holy month of Ramadan, have to fast. And fasting is a lot more than just staying away from eating and drinking. It's staying away from all evil thoughts and inclinations and any bad habits. And finally, if a person, once in their lifetime, is financially and physically capable, they must make a pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca, at least once in their lives. How many Muslims are there worldwide? In the world, there are about 1.8 billion Muslims. More than 24.1% of the world's population is therefore Muslim.
So the global distribution of Muslims, the global population of Muslims, is a very diverse community spanning the entire globe. Over 50 countries out of 195 have Muslim majority populations.
What do you guys think is the most populated Muslim country in the world? Anyone?
Anyone want to take a guess?
Indonesia.
You know it's not correct. But the common answer to most people is always Saudi Arabia or UAE or an Arab country. However, the reality is much different from this.
By far the largest populations of Muslims live in Southeast Asia, but only 50% of Muslims are Arab. And 1/5 of the world's Muslims live in minorities and non-Muslim countries, with the largest of these populations being in India and China. And as we said earlier, Indonesia has the largest population of Muslims, and it's projected by 2050, India would be the world's largest population of Muslims in the future.
So, Muslims in the United States. There are actually 2 female, as many of you probably know, Muslim members of Congress currently in our Congress, Umar Ilham and Rashida Tlaib. Also, nearly 5,900 active duty members of the U.S. Armed Forces identify themselves as Muslims. In addition, 900 of the NYPD, the New York City Police Department, are also Muslim. Also, Muslims have been contributing citizens of the United States since the time of Christopher Columbus.
So that is currently what's going on in some of the past history, but currently Muslims are excelling in almost every field. For example, the Islamic Medical Association of North America estimates there are more than 20,000 Muslim physicians in the United States, and the American Medical Association says that 10% of all American physicians are Muslims. In addition, according to a CNN article, most Americans don't actually personally know any Muslim individuals, at least not personally. More than 6 in 10 have seldom or never had a conversation with a Muslim, and 83% of Americans also say they know little to nothing about Islam, 83%. When we invite people into our religious centers, we see that it creates a sense of peace and harmony. The following video shows an example of what happened in Phoenix, Arizona at a protest.
A Valley man who went to a rally outside the Phoenix Mosque on Friday to protest Islam has a change of heart somewhat. Going to the event where armed demonstrators spoke out against the Muslim faith. But after being invited inside the mosque, he says the congregation made him feel welcome. Andrew has been live outside the Islamic Community Center of Phoenix, where a different rally is getting underway tonight. Andrew.
That's right, Troy. More on that rally in a minute, but you remember the scene out here on Friday. You wouldn't expect someone to be invited inside the mosque, but that is what happened. And he told us today that after going in there, he now has a very different perspective.
Here's Jason Ledger and the organizer of Friday's rally wearing the profanity-laced t-shirts. Now, things have changed.
Out of respect for the Islamic people, knowing what I know now, since I have talked to them and spoke with them, no, I would not do that again. Just because I don't want to offend or hurt those people.
While at Friday's rally, Ledger spoke with a group of people who pray at the mosque, and he was invited inside.
But when I took a second to sit down and listen to them and actually enter their mosque and go in and watch some of their prayers, it was a beautiful thing, and they answered some of my questions that I had.
Ledger attended the rally with his uncle. For them, going was more about free speech than religion.
We don't have to like everything that's free in speech in this world, but we do have to let it happen. We do have to let people wear what they want, say what they want.
Ledger and his uncle say they've been invited back to the mosque for more discussions, and they plan to go. This time, the t-shirt will stay at home.
I feel that me and a few people like my Uncle Paul and the Muslim people taking time to talk to each other, I feel that we changed the thoughts of some people and they changed the thoughts of me. Paul specifically said, I will never wear that shirt again.
I made my point, all right? The point was that even the most vile speech is protected under the First Amendment, okay? That was the point I was trying to make.
And tonight's rally is being organized by a number of religious groups. They're coming here to the mosque and holding what they're calling a love, not hate rally. That rally is set to get underway in about 30 minutes. Reporting live in Phoenix, I'm Andrew Hasbin, Fox 10 News.
Andrew, thank you. The organizer of the Phoenix.
Just a simple invitation can drastically change negative perspectives.
Now I'd like to talk a little bit about the interfaith work that we have here at the Islamic Center of Orlando. Interfaith is something that we've been doing here for a long time. We here at the Islamic Center of Orlando find it important and essential to host these events year-round in order to unite the Central Florida community regardless of religion or race or culture.
By hosting our interfaith barbecues, we invite the local community to spend an afternoon with us and open a dialogue with our fellow neighbors.
We also invite schools to educate them on the topics of Islam and to show them around our mosque. During these sessions, we also answer any questions that these students might have, for they are the future leaders of our community. They must be able to break these barriers that we have between us.
Our Islamic Center of Orlando food truck travels around the less fortunate places of Orlando to feed the homeless and the hungry.
When you go with this food truck, you realize that poverty is a very reality. It's a big reality here in Central Florida. It's something that's hidden. We don't see it in our neighborhoods, but if you go to the downtown area, you'll see it. And these people are a member of our community still. So we here at the Islamic Center of Orlando feel it's essential to help these people and thus make a positive influence, a positive effect on our local community.
During Hurricane Irma 2 years ago, the mosque was open for people who needed shelter during the hurricane. We provided relief for those in need in very stressful times in coordination with the Red Cross.
And also, in the wake of Hurricane Irma's devastating impact on Puerto Rico, the Islamic Center of Orlando had 90 volunteers at a food packaging event for Puerto Rico along with many other religious communities. We were honored to provide relief for those in need during these stressful times.
We were very honored last year to be presented with the Volunteer Group of the Year Award by J.P. Morgan Chase. And here you can see our wonderful Imam Tariq receiving the award.
So now we would like to talk briefly about the basic principles about the month of Ramadan and what Ramadan is all about.
So Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic lunar calendar, in which Muslims have been required by God to fast from sunrise to sunset. Fasting gives us a special opportunity to show our obedience to God, and it is the holy month in which the Quran, which is our holy scripture, was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad.
Specifically, about Ramadan, God talks about this in the 2nd chapter of the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, in which He says, the Arabic verse, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. The English translation of which is, O you who believe, decreed upon you is fasting, as it was decreed upon those nations who came before you, so that you may achieve righteousness or God consciousness. The purpose of fasting is to develop God consciousness, which then in turn leads to righteousness. For the love of God, we do actions that are pleasing to Him, and because of the fear of God, we do actions and we restrain ourselves from doing things which are displeasing to Him, through which we gain the purification of our souls. Fasting also allows us to feel for the hunger of the less fortunate, and this helps us to develop an appreciation for the blessings that we have. It also helps us to learn patience, self-control, self-discipline, and much more.
So we would like to share some pictures of iftar around the world, which is very different from what you will see here tonight and see at our mosque outside. So over here is a picture of a couple years ago with President Obama hosting a White House iftar.
And here you can see an iftar. Often iftars are done on the floor with a lot of people coming together, families and friends coming together to eat and break their iftar. And here you can see an iftar in Canada. And you can also see wearing Islamic clothes, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as well.
Over here's a picture of iftar in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates.
Here's a picture of iftar in Lebanon.
Here's a picture in Medina, Saudi Arabia at the Prophet's Mosque. They're doing iftar over there. And here is a picture of Jakarta, Indonesia.
But not all of it is as nice as we saw in those original pictures. Throughout the world, there's also a lot of suffering. But still, they still fast, and they still have to break their fast as well. So we can see here's an example of iftar in Syria. Regardless of their circumstances, they still come together as a community to break their fast and to please God. And another example of this, a family breaking their fast together in Gaza, in Philistine, in Palestine. At the end of the month, we have what is known as the Eid. There's 2 holidays for Muslims, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. One of those comes at the end of the month of Ramadan. It's an important religious holiday celebrated by Muslims worldwide that celebrates and marks the end of Ramadan, celebrates fasting for 30 days, celebrates purifying our souls. In it, thousands of people come together for Eid prayers, in which they pray to God and thank Him for having a good Ramadan.
At this time, we would like to invite some of our speakers here tonight. For over 25 years, the Reverend Dr. Carmelo Mercado has been actively involved in faith communities and interfaith advocacy as an ordained Presbyterian minister, pastoral counselor, chartered financial consultant, adjunct seminary professor, denominational leader, senior pastor, and chaplain for people of all faith or of no faith. He advocates for inclusion and believes in building bridges, not barriers, regardless of creed, color, culture, condition, or circumstance. I would like to welcome Dr. Carmelo Mercado.
I want to thank you for your warm friendship and generous hospitality. In Hispanic and Latina communities, the concept of family or familia is much wider than your blood relatives. Familia represents your neighbor, members of your faith community, friends of other religions. We are all familia. We're all family because we are equally created by God in the image of God. So thank you for being a part of my family. Today I'm also fasting as a sign of respect for your religion in solidarity with all of you. One of the beauties of communal fasting is that we are all in this together. We can support one another. I'm told that there is not to be any food or drink, not even water. So I've done that. I've obeyed. I've done my part. Today I've had a busy day. I've been visiting folks in the hospital, rehab centers, and usually when I go to the hospitals, I don't use the elevators, so I do my exercise, so I walk up all the stairs, and I've done all that stuff today. So whenever you're ready to eat, just let me know. I'm ready to join. I do want to confess one thing, though, that fasting comes easy for me. For most of my life, I fast most of the day. I'm like a camel that eats once a day, a lot, once a day, and then I store it for 24 hours. And I've been doing this since I was younger than I am now. As a kid, I was raised in poverty in Jersey City, New Jersey, and I learned to adapt and eat once. I ate once a day. So since then, my body has been conditioned to this practice. So I join you today in fasting without much effort from my part, to be honest with you. But however, fasting is both in the Christian and Muslim traditions more than just no food and no drink. It is a season to abstain from fighting, arguing, gossiping, bickering, and bitterness. It is a time of forgiving and a time of asking for forgiveness for one another. Fasting is a correction of our natural inclination to greed and self-indulgence. The more we have, it seems like the more we cling to our possessions. So unfortunately though, as a Christian, a lot of Christians, we don't fast a lot anymore. We have forgotten that fasting is not just for useful purpose, like weight loss. It's also more than just for political aim, identifying with the oppressed, with the poor and the hungry in our society. Fasting as a spiritual discipline is the realization that we have become so attached to our possessions and cannot bear the thought of doing without them. Fasting is the renunciation of an otherwise good thing. It is not the rejection of God's gifts, nor the meaning of this world. Fasting is about getting our priorities clear. To fast is to establish that food, drink, or anything else are secondary to our loyalty to God. Fasting is about opening up to God, becoming vulnerable, humble, dependent, letting go of things that bind us. As my Muslim friends and family, I commend you for helping us Christians to set a time to be more intentional in our intercessory prayer and more focused in our almsgiving. Again, I thank you for inviting me and a few others that have joined me. Throughout my journey in life in this earth, I wanted to be my mission to be there for you, to build bridges and not barriers, to respect you and to love you as God loves all of us. Thank you and blessings to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carmelo Mercado, for those beautiful words. Thank you.
Our next speaker is a pastor at St. Mark's Presbyterian Church. He's also the board chair at Faith in Florida. We'd like to warmly welcome Reverend David Ju.
Thank you. It's really good to be here. That's fine.
Unlike my brother Ricardo Carmelo, I haven't been fasting all day, but I'm not drinking this water until it's time, so I'll drink for that period of time. It's a thrill to be here. I really do enjoy the wonderful hospitality that we have received many times down here for picnics and for these wonderful iftar meals and we thank you for your witness of your faith, which also helps us try to be accountable to our faith. My involvement with Faith in Florida really is one way in which I've invited some of your community to be involved in that, and that being a group of religious individuals throughout the state of Florida. We're developing in Central Florida more so now to do what is missing also in our Christian faith more and more, which is provide a prophetic word. Now as I preach, occasionally I get accused of being political in the pulpit, making political statements. And our Savior, Prophet Jesus, was also political because he was speaking prophetic word. The prophetic word that recognizes the injustices in the world and the injustices around us, where we live here in Central Florida, the inequality of incomes between the poorest of the poor and the rich of the rich. Here in Central Florida, it's as big and large as anywhere else in the country. The human trafficking that goes on, the other issues that concern us as people of faith who think that every person as God's creation deserves respect, love, care. We also work hard to understand one another in the Christian faith. I grew up in Texas, where I don't think they know the word Muslim. I'm not sure if I ever saw a mosque out there. I'm sure they're there now, but growing up, my experience really with the Muslim faith was on my journey, my pilgrimage to Jerusalem while I was still going to seminary, and hearing the Muslim prayers as they would go off. And we traveled all through Israel, and we ran where Jesus walked, as they say. And we would go and see these locations where this used to be a church and this used to be a church, but now it's a mosque, and now it's a mosque, and now it's a mosque. And I thought that was so telling, in that we do not need to worship the places to which we worship or to which we gather necessarily, but we need to worship the God that we all do care about, and we can worship that God anywhere. But we are to gather together for strength, for mutual support, to fast together, to eat together, to pray together, and to love one another. And I thank you for having me here once again to speak. I thank Imam for his wonderful friendship, and Fatima for her great work as well in the things that we do together. So thank you. Look forward to our meal together, and sure enjoy the education that I got at time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reverend. Next, I would like to ask Shannon Hogland to also come up and give a few words. Shannon Hogland is a local real estate attorney, the chair of the Dr. Phillips YMCA board. She works diligently in bringing all faith leaders in the area to sit and work together by organizing roundtable meetings.
So I have been blessed to be in this wonderful place many times. I have prayed here, I have cried here, I have eaten here. Did I mention I have eaten here? I have eaten here. Food is amazing. We have a lot to look forward to for those of you who have not been here before. As part of our why, we work really hard to build community. We do have an interfaith leaders gathering that we do several times a year, bringing together the rabbis, the imams, the pastors, the priests, and that's always such a fun, amazing time. I will say it was terrifying the first few times we did it, not knowing how the Catholic priests would react to the female pastors and you know, all of the different politics that come in. And it's one of the things that I love about coming here is I know that everyone I bring is going to be welcome. I was driving by a couple of weeks ago, and I just wanted to share this story because it sort of has weighed on me differently than I had expected it to. But a couple weeks ago, I was driving by, and it was Friday prayers were just letting out. And so there's a bunch of people outside, and as is typical here, there were a couple of police officers, and one had the lights on. Nothing bad had happened, it just, that's what Friday prayers look like here. There's a lot of people, and I happen to have a young man in the car with me who is from a different country where there's a lot of immigration issues, and he said, Shannon, are the police there to protect the Muslims from everyone else, or to protect everyone else from the Muslims? And being me, I said, I think they're there for traffic. They told me where to park. But it weighed on me. As I thought of that over time, I thought, you know, what kind of a world we live in, where for a young person, that's the question. Who needs protecting against whom? And it's a scary thought that that's the world our young people are living in right now, is who needs protecting from whom. So to those of you who came here for the first time tonight, I want to say thank you. I know walking into a new place is sometimes scary, and especially when you do it by yourself, it's extra scary. You are always welcome here. I can assure you of that. I've shown up unexpectedly and been welcomed. I've shown up with an invitation and been welcomed. So I want to thank everybody who is here tonight for the first time, everybody who's returning, and most of all, our gracious hosts who welcome us with open arms whenever we appear. So thank you.
Thank you, Sharon, for those words and that wonderful story. Our next speaker is the Community Liaison in the Central Florida region for the Department of Children and Families, and also coordinates the Refugee Services Program. I'd like to invite Dr. Rosa Chavez.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. I've been here, this is my second time. Thank you, Fatima, for the invitation, and to all of you who prepared this day for all of us. I am representing DCF, the Department of Children and Families. I'm the Community Liaison for Central Florida, and we work with refugees, mainly refugees all the time. We don't work with anyone. We work really close with Fatima all the time. I want to take the opportunity to invite you to the celebration of refugees. Every year, we celebrate with the World Refugee Day, which is going to be the 22nd of June this year at Summit Church. She's on here, right? Okay. So Summit Church is a colonial drive, really close to the mall, the Fashion Square Mall. Then we're going to be there from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're going to serve food and water and sodas, and we're going to have performances. We're going to have some health raffles. It's very funny, the celebration, and if you can go, welcome. It's open to public, and anybody can go there. Okay? So this is my portion for refugees, and we really enjoy that. Thank you so much again for the invitation.
Thank you, Dr. Chavez, for those wonderful words. The Islamic Center of Orlando would also like to recognize here today David Weber, who is also here. He's the manager of IT, Information Technology at Windows. So please, can we get a round of applause for our guests? Thank you so much for doing this.
So every Wednesday evening, we have an open house in this very location that you're sitting in. So if you or anyone that you know has any questions or just wants to come and talk about Islam or get to know anyone of us, you're more than welcome to come here at 6:30 on Wednesdays. And now we would like to...
So now we're going to have the call to prayer right now, but we still have a couple of minutes left until it's time for us to actually break our fast. As you know, we work by the sun schedule. So we have a couple more minutes. We'd like to invite Imam Tariq back up to give a few more words until we have the call to prayer so we can break our fast.
So we heard some really nice words from our distinguished guests. And, you are fasting today. So thank you for fasting with us. It's very nice to hear that you are fasting to be with us today. And the good news is there are only 9 minutes left remaining. Yeah, so that is the spirit out there, where you see that people of other faiths are fasting with us, and it's really nice to see that people think that way. And I have some wonderful friendship with pastors of different churches and rabbis. And he's one of my friends. Pastor have been friends since many years. But one thing that I would like to mention here is that the religious leaders, right? They have to lead by example, right? I mean, when religious leaders have friendships among themselves, right? When we will respect each other, right, of who we are, right? You are a pastor, I'm an imam, somebody is a rabbi. So when we respect each other, and we love each other for the sake of God, right? And we are trying to do our best to unite our community, only then we are doing the God's work on earth. Because by dividing communities, right, that's not the work of God. So I really appreciate the religious leadership when they do the interfaith work, because then we see the good result of that in the community, right? I mean, just take the example of the synagogue across from our mosque, right? I mean, you go to Middle East, to Palestine and Israel, you have that conflict going on since God knows how long, 60, 70 years. But in Central Florida, right, you have this mosque, and across from this mosque is a synagogue, right? We never had any problems. We had great friendship. So much so that during Ramadan and during Eid, our celebration, right, when we have overflow of parking, we don't even ask now the synagogue whether they allow us to park the cars or not. Because we have been using their parking lot for the last 20 years or 25 years, right? Now we don't even call. Previously, like 10, 12 years ago, we'll ask their permission, but now it's understood, right? Similarly, when they have their religious celebrations there, right? Now they don't even ask us whether they can park their cars here or not. Sometimes I come here to lead the prayer in the afternoon or the evening prayer, and I see that the parking lot is completely full. And I know that not that many Muslims are here too. And it's like a Saturday or a Friday night, and I come here, that parking lot, this parking lot is full, right? I instantly understand that this must be our Jewish neighbors, right? And then I reflect that thing that yes, today is their religious day. So this is the harmony and understanding that we have, right? So Central Florida is a wonderful place to see the religious harmony that exists, and I hope that it will continue and it will strengthen it. And talking about religious harmony, we have Ms. Shannon, she spoke briefly. So she is doing her part in bringing the religious leaders once every 4 months, right? 3 or 4 months at YMCA, and there you see that Imam is there, Rabbi is there, Catholics are there, Protestants are there. We are all there together having breakfast and talking about issues that we are dealing with. So that just strengthens our community. It just makes our community stronger. So again, thank you all for coming, right? And we have few minutes left. I think we can use those minutes in talking among ourselves. And one of the goal of organizing Interfaith Iftar is the fellowship. We need to make new friends. We need to know each other better, right? So that's one of the reasons why we organize Interfaith Iftar. So again, thank you for coming. We have a few minutes left, and the call of prayer would be made, and at that time we can eat and drink. Okay? Thank you again for coming. Thank you.
Buildings popping up. I'd like to listen to one of my friends and then try to do something to bring
So a little bit before we have the call to prayer, we'll talk a little bit about what the call to prayer is. As Muslims, we have to develop a way during the time of the Prophet to call people to pray. So in the olden times, what we used to do was have a person climb to the highest part of the mosque, the minarets, and actually call people to prayer. Now we have mic systems, so it's a lot easier. Also, many people are in their homes, the prayer doesn't go all the way to them, so we have all of our times. So it's left as much of a formality. Regardless, the call to prayer, in my opinion, is one of my favorite aspects of religion. It's one of the most beautiful sounds throughout the world for me.
And thank you for joining us tonight at the Islamic Center of Orlando. It was an honor to host you and your families here tonight, and we hope you were able to learn a little bit more about Ramadan, Islam, and also to make some new friends. We look forward to seeing you again very soon and hope you enjoyed the food. And now we would like to call the sunset Maghrib prayer Azan call to prayer, and if we could have Faraz come up and call the Azan.
Okay, so when we have the call to prayer, we have what's known as actual iftar, the reason we're here today, and that's the actual breaking of the fast. So if you look at all of your tables, you'll find these nice little brown fruits. They're known as dates. They're really good, trust me. They might not look like it, but they taste wonderful. Be careful, there's actually a pit inside, so don't swallow that. So you can just break it apart in half. That is often what the Prophet liked to break his fast with, and it's also how he advised us to break our fast, and it's also a very healthy food as well. And also we are advised to break our fast and watch our time. So that is how we break our fast officially when it strikes 13. Yes?
And you can follow the translation along here for the Arabic. Faraz will do it.
Thank you. He has to put both of his hands up so I'm holding it for him. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا
Feedback on the food, was it good? Absolutely good. You have thanks? I put it together. No, it's good that you like the food. At this point, I'd like to see if somebody would like to come forward and share their views and their thoughts. Anybody can come forward and share their thoughts and views. Somebody who had been here for the first time or the second time. Ready to come and share your views? Your thoughts? Oh, yes, coming, okay. Okay. We have a young man. Thanks for having me here tonight. It was my first time so close to the Muslim community, and like you said, I had a great time. I really enjoyed my company over here. I saw the people sat on my table, and we already made new friends, and the food was awesome. And
let them know where you're from.
Oh yeah, I'm from Italy, by the way. My name is Mickey, and you know, if somebody feeds you and welcomes you, it's always a place like home. Thank you. Thank you. Oh yes, please.
Everybody, my name is Andrea. I work for Ramadan, and I'm a Christian. When I heard about Ramadan fasting, I have a person that I talked to. I said, I want to learn more. And I've been fasting for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I've been waking up early in the morning. I will pray. And then I eat before, the sun come in. And then I go to work and my spirit is strong. And because I get more connected to God. All I know is to get closer and closer to Him. And I recommend everybody to do it. Everyone do it. Because you get stronger and stronger and you can hear God literally talking to you. And thank you again for everyone here. It's my first time. I'm ready to come back.
Smile.
Yes. Anybody else would like to come and share their views? Okay. Okay, well, thank you for coming. It was nice and a good evening together. May God bless all of us. And we'll keep you in touch with our activities through emails. We usually have barbecues and different dinners here, all interfaith activities. So we'll keep you updated so we can get together again. So may God bless all of us. May God bless our families and our country. Thank you.